Welcome to Design Impact, where we unpack the forces shaping the world through design. Today, we're diving into Brook Banham's journey from global adventures to founding Middlecott Design with his wife Judith to igniting Sketchbattle's revolution. We'll explore how techno vibes, transparent creativity, and storytelling collide to redefine design and ask, what's the role of AI in human driven craft? Buckle up, listeners. This is where passion meets purpose and design makes wave. Brooke, take the wheel and let's talk impact.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much, Anthony, for inviting me to this. It's always a pleasure to talk about sketch battle, and it's such a fun topic for me, at least.
Well, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate your time. Can you walk us through the origin story of Sketchbattle and what sparked the idea during your time pursuing a master's degree at the College for Creative Studies? Like, how did this happen?
Well, okay, I did a master's degree in 2010 to 2020, and the reason why, one of the reasons, because that was during part of that recession, great recession thing, and so I thought I'd wait it out, and so part of the master's degree was a large component was business. I think it was 25% business, and that super made it sound super interesting for me to take that class, and so I had this idea about, well, the business class asked for us to create a fake business plan, just a theoretical thing. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this. It was a very high level instructor who was teaching at U of M. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this guy to help me mold this concept of sketch battle. So it's a real concept that I did, and it's actually come to fruition. So I'm so glad that that happened through CCS and through this guy, Mark Reith is his name, who coached us through this and guided me through the whole process and the pros and cons of sketch battle. And it's turning out to be successful. So that's the kind of the foundation for sketch battle. But there's several facets to it. Firstly, being in the transportation design school at CCS doing the masters, that was a transportation design class. Also, I did a transportation undergrad, and seeing how students, particularly in industrial design and transportation design, particularly, are super competitive. I mean, they are extremely competitive. It's a little bit of a passive aggressive because they don't openly be aggressive, but it's just like they each try to beat each other's sketches because that gets the best jobs. So everyone's trying to learn from the other students. And so seeing that a very competitive nature, I thought, you know what, this should be brought out into the open to celebrate these designers as athletes because they are competing against each other to get jobs. And then it moves on later on in your career, and you try to beat or create the best sketches to get your project moved forward, in the company. So I thought it would be a cool business idea to showcase this. Another thing is a lot of this design stuff is particularly in cars. And now that we moved into sneakers too, but generally design is done very in secret, behind secret closed walls. And I thought it would be very nice to be able to see professional and student designers sketching live in an open environment where public can watch them. And to watch the magic kind of come out in real time and in front of people. We see these beautiful sketches, and Joe Public might just be thinking it's just took you days or hours to make that thing, but really you can do these sketches in a short period of time. So showcasing public, that was a major thing. But here is the big business pitch, the big business draw, and cavity. There's a business opening, and that is, well, schools is the easiest analogy. Well, art schools have no way to compete. Unlike normal
Mhm.
universities, universities compete through football and normal physical sports, but art schools, they have no way to compete. And that was a major opportunity I felt like could be something that Sketch Battle could fill the gap. And so I haven't done the full university thing. Instead, I've been working on individuals, kind of more like a boxing. So letting designers compete against one another to get jobs. So it's kind of filtered into that. There is a bigger plan to get the university, the colleges, art colleges to get involved. But check out this for business. So one of the major revenues for these colleges is merchandising, the t-shirts. You see them all over the place supporting your favorite team, your favorite college you went to. And it also starts to bring in the alumni more. They get more active within the college because they support their team. They go to the games and stuff. Well, that's a longer term plan, but that is a huge opportunity I see for art colleges to jump on this, have the league, like the college league football, having that same college league of art and design sketch battles. So I've been trying to push it, but it's hard to right now a little bit with our situations.
I hear what you're saying in terms of the core, and I think what's going to resonate well, especially with this generation of people, is that ring of authenticity. So as things are more digitally made and created, and they see this fake narrative being put out with all of these different types of softwares that support this instant generation of concept, right? Seeing an individual creating an authentic picture derived from a human perspective make something more tangible that they might find more true and to resonate with. So this whole concept of supporting artists like you would support a team really makes sense to me. And as a business plan and as a business model, like that type of look definitely rings true. So in terms of inspiration, how did like the 90s UK techno house music scene influence your approach to design? And how does that energy translate into a sketch battle event today? Because I've been to sketch battle events and
Yes.
they have a certain energy about them.
Well, I think that comes from so I was born in Texas, but then I grew up in England. We moved to England when I was very young in the late 80s. And so at that time, that was just the very budding of this electronica techno type of movement, acid house that started in the late 80s. And so I didn't get into it until like I didn't get into it. In fact, I hated that music. It was '89. I hated that music. It was going on, and I was more into REM and some other stuff at that time. But as I kind of morphed into university in the early '90s, I got into it. I got into it because it was such a. So I went to university, undergrad at Coventry University. Coventry University is the equivalent of Detroit. And I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about a little bit of related history and the correlation between Detroit and Coventry. So Coventry is the city where Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, Leyland, Austin, all of these English companies, British car companies, they're all rooted there. And so it also had a collapse, similar to Detroit, but in a different way. Firstly, it was bombed out in World War II because it was a major industrial place. So it turned into a wreck. But then also over the years, post-war, car companies were sold to, German companies. So it kind of lost its auto industry. So there's a similarity in that between that and Detroit. But then, so also they had a major rave scene there, a major rave scene. And I guess it's kind of like the roots of Detroit. The roots of Detroit, the techno is, a lot of these people worked in factories or who made this music. They kind of come from that era of manufacturing and the repetitive noise of the factory and the noise of that. And reflecting that through music. And so that type of thing, I think, transitioned very harmoniously in Coventry. They embraced that. And so my school was Coventry University. And so that's one reason why I got into techno and specifically Detroit techno and that rave culture. So I know it was a very poignant time in UK's. It was one of our, I say our because I'm half English, one of our glory periods. Everyone thinks of back to those times as like really wonderful times, high energy. It felt so revolutionary. It's like this new music, people coming together in the thousands in these illegal places, subverting the government a little bit. It was illegal. Basically people died, people because it was in illegal places and so it was this super underground thing. And I would love to have, I wanted to bring that type of vibe into America. Little did I know when I moved to Detroit in 2010, I knew it was a home of techno, and I knew many famous musicians came from the city, but I didn't know about its underground rave culture. I knew it existed, but I didn't know much about it. There's a lot of differences between how England did it and how America did it, and so I was learning about it here. So when I learned that they had all of these illegal raves here too, I thought, you know what, this is perfectly ties in with my roots in England, and then coming here in Detroit. That's Okay, so that was a connection there. So I started Middlecott Design with my wife. We moved to Detroit, finished my master's. 2012, we started our little firm, Middlecott Design, and we thought we need to have an grand opening party. And I said, we're not just going to have a simple cocktail party. Let's do like a little rave. Let's do a little rave thing. But we can't just have a rave and dance party and stuff. We need to have a design element. What could that be? Well, at the time, there was this Russian thing. They were having these things called sketch battles. Well, firstly, sketch battles are originally from graffiti. Graffiti, they do these physical drawing in their sketchbooks, and it's sketch battles, and they have these little battles, and they do them in person in a group, and but they also do them online. So that's one type of sketch battle. But I heard about this. There was this website in the early 2000s called Nomads, and it was everyone was throwing sketches down onto into this website, and it was not a battle, but the Russians were talking about they were throwing down sketches onto this website, and they were doing these things called sketch battles, where automotive sketch battles, where they were competing with each other online through the vast expanse of Russia, but it was internally Russia, these sketch battles, and they were trying to beat each other with these car design sketches online. So I embraced those two cultures to have a live in-person event. And so I took those ideas, there's the graffiti and the Russian thing, and I thought that would be cool to have a live sketching contest in our party. So there's an entertainment factor. It's going to be design focused. And so that was how we kind of got our first sketch battle. And it was a major success. So we had this launch party with the sketch battle at our launching of the sketch battle junior sketch sorry middle cut design. Okay. And so it was a huge success. And then of all people, Mike Illich came. And I was new to Detroit, so I didn't know about this guy. I didn't know who he was or what he looked like. But anyway, he came and introduced himself. He said he didn't. He just says, "Yeah, this is a great party, great idea." And I was like, "Cool, man, thanks. Drinks over there. If there's anything I can help you with." So I didn't really think about it. Anyway, that
Right.
little short interaction, and then after he went off and did his thing, people came to me and said, "Brooke, that's Mike. That's Mike Illich." And I was like, "Okay, who's that?" I'm new to Detroit. I don't know. And they said
Right.
he owns Little Caesars, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wow, that's
Yeah.
so cool."
And the Tigers. Yeah. And the
And the
Red Wings.
Tigers, yeah, and half of Detroit, all of that, yes. Yeah, so that was like, "Oh my goodness, that's so cool." So that
Yeah.
was a major boost to want me to keep going with the sketch battle.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Detroit. It is a big city, it's a small community, and it also has a lot of people truly vested in its success. So these types of new ideas that honor Detroit's history as being a hub for design, are definitely going to be accepted, by the community. And I'm sure our listeners can tell how you just bubble with creative energy and how this is very much a place where you would thrive in supporting this type of stuff. Traditional design competitions often keep processes secretive, right? And we were saying this earlier, but Sketch Battle shatters that. What motivated you to make design journey more transparent and inclusive for participants and for the audience?
Well, okay, for the audience, I wanted to share that being a car designer, particularly in Detroit, is not an unobtainium job. It's actually very realistic. People put car design on a pedestal and thinking, it's just kind of that I can never be that. But in Detroit, it's very realistic. So this kind of showcases that it is realistic. You see these young people, just normal people, drawing cars and becoming car designers. I have to say, but this is very specific to Detroit, perhaps LA, this is a little more unobtainium when you go outside. But if even people come from all over the world to come to CCS, so you don't have to be in Detroit. So that's one thing. I want to showcase that to the public. So regarding the designers themselves, it exposes them. So I thought, that's going to be brilliant for them to be able to draw in front of, a Ralph Gills or some of these very well-known designers right in front. And so it was to me a win-win because not only would these senior executive designers be able to see Billy there drawing or Sally drawing this cool car and see this person working live and have a quick interaction. Like you can get the vibes instantly. Have a quick, oh, what's your name? Oh, blah, blah, just a quick one-on-one with the CEO of design and then the student. So that was another thing, not just exposing parents and to careers for their kids, but also so these students can actually interact with people and in an informal situation because it is an informal party. This is part of the element. This is a very important element of Sketch Battle. So after that first one we did, we thought we'll do them in the auto shows because that is the one time of year where all the international. This was back in the day, pre-COVID. When the auto show was really big. So this is one time a year where all the designers from all of the car companies come to Detroit for 2 days of the year. And we get Jaguar, Porsche, Audi, BMW, Hyundai, all of them came to Detroit internationally. They came only for 2 days, the press day and industry day. And so that's a very special time to have all the best designers in one place. And so I seized that moment. I knew that was the day that they all came, specifically Camilo Pardo's party, and there was these parties, and they had all of these designers come to the party. So what we did was we said we'll do it during the auto show at those times, and then so these international people would come to Detroit. And so the thing is, when these international people come to Detroit, they want to see real Detroit. They don't want to go necessarily to the Hilton or the Marriott or to the
Mhm.
fancy, uh, you know, bar or restaurants.
Yeah.
They want to see real gritty Detroit. And so that was a major attraction for them to come to this underground roots of this electronic music thing. And that's another reason why it took off. And so it was so very popular with the international people.
Amazing getting that to work, right? Because you had to
Yeah.
both understand the culture, the context,
Hmm.
all of your different customers, right? The customer being the student, the customer being the attendees, and then the larger customer being the culture of design itself. So all 3 of those things you managed to tap into,
Um,
which is fantastic. Speaking of customers, you have worked with a bunch of iconic brands like Volkswagen,
yeah.
Nike, Hot Wheels.
Yes. Yeah.
How have those experiences informed the structure and themes for sketch battle challenges?
Particularly Hot Wheels, they're a sponsor.
Okay.
So and as I used to work with them, um, just the concept design and the something specifically about Hot Wheels design, they have no rules because they can do anything they want in terms of vehicle design because it's just a toy. And so I love that openness. And that's really what I want Sketch Battle, and I try to aim it for. And it is basically it's open. I want the themes to be very open so they can explore all crazy things. Maybe it's producible, maybe not. So Hot Wheels was an inspiration design wise because of that openness of design. Just explore flying cars and this type of thing. So when we do briefs, normally they're quite open. For example, the last sketch battle, last auto show was design a rugged mobility device. So, I wanted to have it open to not just car designers, to product designers. Maybe rugged mobility could be like a cool off-road skateboard or something like that. And so I really wanted to open it. And so, a lot of that roots is from my work with Hot Wheels. Something else about Hot Wheels, well, they sponsor us and they give us a bunch of these really limited edition cars, which is really, really nice. And it also ties in because we also do a Sketch Battle Junior, which we'll talk about later, but it's for the kids. And so, getting Hot Wheels in, that logo just really resonates with young people too.
I have to you're talking Hot Wheels. I have to grab my favorite Hot Wheels. It's in my office right now. Just
Yeah,
real
dude, please.
I was looking at the Hot Wheels store one day and this little beauty came across
That
and
looks familiar.
it has it has my name on it. It's called the
Blur.
Reality Lime Twister, and
Okay.
I have no idea, but it actually says REALE on it.
That's nothing to do with you, or is that
Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me, but I do have my favorite, Hot Wheels car.
that is so cool. Yeah, it's so nice. I mean, we all grew up with that, and it's such and
Yeah.
it resonates with us as adults as well as the kids. And so yeah, so my work with them since I was working with them when I first moved back to America in San Francisco, that was one of my first jobs. And designers at the time, the more senior ones, because I was freelancing. But then now they're like president of design, so I can talk directly, and then they can support us.
It's funny how the toys, the things that bring us joy as children, still bring
Uh-huh.
us joy as adults. And within the corporate culture of having to design a car or any type of really refined product, as soon as we get out there and we're like, "Hey, what if there's no rules? What can we do?" Right? We can
Yeah,
get to that state of absolute creativity and just
yeah,
come up with off the wall things like, "Hey,
yes,
we're gonna make a bunch of these and we
yes.
see how it's gonna play." You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. We love our toys as adults, and in fact, I think the adult toy market is bigger than the kids one. I think
For
us as
sure.
adults, we spend more money on Hot Wheels than for the kids.
Absolutely. So you founded Middlecott Design alongside with your wife Judith. I
Yes.
have a better half. She makes me better. How has your partnership influenced the collaborative spirit inside Sketch Battle?
Firstly, she's very supportive, and she loves the idea of Sketch Battle. So she's a graphic designer, and I'm more of an industrial designer. So together we harmonize very nicely in a design aesthetic. So that's a great thing. And she's just a great supporter. She sees the vision of Sketch Battle,
Mhm.
and she's what can I say about she's just a huge supporter. We support each other with design, but
So let me ask
uh,
this question then. So she's a graphic designer, right?
Yes.
Colors, textures, alignment, layout, the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? The entire brand of Sketchbattle. I'm sure you guys go back and forth on all the time in discussion,
Yes.
kind of creating these types of things.
Yes.
What would be some of the things that, not as a designer that you are, but as a graphic designer that she has been able to do that
Yes.
has opened up and expanded your idea of what this brand of Sketch Battle and Middlecott design really is?
Well, firstly, her acceptance of embracing it within our middle cot establishment, that is something. And so, since she embraces it, it just expands our scope. It adds a twist to middle cot. So, we're just not a standard company that does industrial and graphic design, but it has that extra element of this competition, which I think is very innovative. And so, her embracing that, has allowed it to be embedded in our and certainly it has elevated the Middlecott name in many ways. Our name would not be as known quite so much without Sketch Battle. But here's another thing. Judith has her name's Judith, Judith in American. She's from Austria. So she works predominantly in the art world here in Detroit. She works for MoCAD and she does a lot of high profile clients here. So her working in these establishments which don't normally have a connection with industrial design, it now does have a connection with industrial design. So her art clients, they learn about Sketch Battle and her stuff's very arty. But now some of her clients go to Sketch Battle and see this new thing. So it's kind of her niche has spread and come to Sketch Battles and so that's another it's another side to art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it is great when product design starts to inform sort of the art world or, is inspired by the art world or goes hand in hand with this industrial complex, because that is definitely one of the topics discussed through
Yeah.
art that
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
experience. So that is wonderful. Sketch Battle celebrates individuality, inclusivity. How do
Yes.
you ensure that the competition fosters that sense of community than just rivalry?
So what Sketch Battle has created unexpectedly is communities. These communities, they went through a very intense but extremely enjoyable. The adrenaline pumps through them, and everyone gets really high doing these things.
Yeah. Mhm.
And they keep going back to sketch battles because they had a good time, and then they see their old friends. So Sketch Battle has created a community, and it grows. I guess we've had at least a few thousand contestants come through. Wait, 20, at least 1,000. Let's just say 1,000. But there's a community, and so that's unexpected.
That's a lot of
Right?
artists. That
Yeah.
is a lot of artists coming through, and that is a lot of people putting themselves out there. So that
Well,
is that's amazing.
we've done them. We've done them pre-COVID. We did them in San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, LA. Yeah, we've done them, and of course Detroit. So we did them all over the place with the auto shows. We did them at Peterson Auto Museum, at the auto show in LA, all over the place. And so really, we really wanted to hit all of the cities.
So looking back, what has been the most surprising outcome or evolution of Sketch Battle since its inception?
Okay, so not I didn't expect to do shoes,
Okay,
but I am doing shoes now because I felt like my roots was shoe design. I was a shoe designer. First job I ever got was designing shoes out of transportation design school. I just took the first job, and that was working for Fila Sport, and that took me
nice.
into Italy. But anyway, so that took me into the world of shoes. And so that was my early industrial design roots. But I never really thought about installing it into Sketch Battle. But so here I've been doing Sketch Battle Automotive, and I feel like I wanted to expand it. So I thought, what's the biggest, next sexiest industrial design thing would be footwear design, shoes, sneakers. It's so accessible. And so I thought, let's create a shoe sketch battle, which we did just like last month. And so that was never part of the plan. It was always going to be automotive, Detroit based, Motor City roots. And so that's going to take off. That seems to really, I think,
Absolutely. Or,
yeah.
it touches on current culture. It touches on like people collect shoes. There are shoe absolutely fanatics out there,
Yes,
right?
yes, really.
They change. It's definitely a fashion accessory. It's probably the most one of the most colorful things that, people can wear on their body is the shoe. It is one of the most expressive pieces of clothing. So I
Uh,
can see how that resonates with people across so many different avenues. And especially like like automotive, there are different types of vehicles, there are different types of shoes for different activities. So there's a lot of parallels in terms of those stories as well.
Well, huge overlaps. I mean, not only, well, in design, I mean, of course, there's like, the 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 reason why I got hired was because profiles of shoes is a similar to a profile of a car. And if you can do cool car shapes, you can probably do cool shoe shapes,
Mhm.
cut lines and things like that. But then also, if we talk about the low-hanging fruit of design and the intersection between the two is interior design. So interior of the cars. I mean, because if you think about it, a car is like a shoe for a human. Because a human fits in there like a foot fits in a shoe. And so, like the bolstering in a seat in seats, it holds you firmly in the car, the breathability of the back of the seat, the tactile feel of the materials. All of those is totally translatable to shoe design. I'm trying to push the shoe design aspect. Well, firstly, Ford sponsored the last one. So, they see that there's a connection between the two, especially particularly towards interior design. I'm trying to get that shoe design to not only attract shoe design companies, Nike and Adidas, those types, but also the car companies, because I think this is a very, very interesting way for car designers, car executives to hire designers. Shoe design is so ergonomic. It is very different also. There are similarities, but it's also very different from car design, of course. But then the ergonomics that you have to consider for the foot and the cushioning and all this stuff, that type of knowledge of feet, if that's translated into interiors of cars, that could revolutionize cars, car interiors. And there is some thought process like that already existing, but I want to send it home. So if I could really get the shoe sketch battle to team up with the cars and cars and shoes and really, I mean, not to mention that there's all these driving shoes around. Puma have these race shoes and all this driving shoes. So I really want to embrace the two things, the cars and the shoes, to really come together and explore new possibilities. Exploring one of my favorite things about Sketch Battle is for these young people, or we also get older ones too, is to explode. I want them to explode and not necessarily follow general trends. I want them to do something passionate, like, oh, I've never been able to do this in my job, so I want to do it now. I want to express my extreme creativity out there in front of people. So all of these type of vibes are really where I'm hoping to take Sketch Battle, and especially with these two facets.
Thank you for being so open in terms of your concept, your understanding, and accepting of all the different types of art styles, creativity, and expression that exists with all the different learners, creatives, and artists that are part of this design process. For an aspiring designer listening, what advice would you give them on participating or even starting their own sketch battle to fuel creativity?
Firstly, we do not look at any criteria. When people apply for Sketch Battle, all we look at is their sketches. We don't care if they're male, female, how old they are, if they have college education. None of that matters. It's all about the sketch. I mean, you could get, I mean, this hasn't happened. It has happened. We've had 15-year-olds apply. Since we're not looking at their ages, they have good sketches. They're really good. I'm like, okay, this person can get accepted. They come in, they're 15 years old. Well, that's cool. Whatever. And the same with all the other demographic things. So it's extremely open. This last sketch battle that we had with Nike as a sponsor, this sneaker one, this is a time where nobody was asking about what college, what level of college do you have. People could come in here without a college degree and compete and get noticed. It kind of upsets the whole damn system about getting employed. When we're talking about inclusivity, this is uber inclusive. All we are judging is to get you in the door is by the sketch quality. It starts to upset the whole human resources section, the whole, what is it called? Talent acquisition, TA is a term I just learned. Talent acquisition team. They have a team like that in these big companies. And so it kind of upsets that whole thing. These poor people, these poor designers who are looking for jobs, they send in a resume, but the resume gets filtered into the rejection part because they don't have the word proficient at Microsoft Word or
Yeah.
proficient at maybe some things that they will get rejected for.
Yeah, AI is reading all of the resumes as they come in and is no longer a human to human interface.
Yes. Yeah.
And then as an artist, I know when I first got out of college, I think I sent over 200 plus resumes out along with because I was
Yes.
graduating during this great recession that you were
Yes.
talking about, along with a bunch of different cover letters, and I had awards and I top of my class, and I
Yes.
don't think there was anybody really reading
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah. Really.
engaging with the material. They have all of 2 seconds to look at
Mhm.
1,000 applicants, and you're making it real for them. You're
Well, and
bringing
yeah, absolutely. For example, me, I decided I'm focusing specifically on sketching. That was my thing during college. And there was
Mhm.
CAD and there was Alias and stuff at that time. But I really didn't touch it much. And I said, I'm going to just be a sketcher. That's all I want to do. And so, it closed off job opportunities, but opened up job opportunities. So the thing also, Sketchbattle, maybe somebody is in that same world. They have no CAD experience, but they're really good at sketching. Companies, if they're large enough, they can still hire that person because he or she has amazing concept ideas and styling ideas reflected through their sketching. And quite often, he will pass those inside the company. The sketcher will pass his or her designs onto the CAD person. The CAD person helps make it and model it. So there's these opportunities. But if you say, I don't have any CAD experience on your resume, then you will be canceled out.
Absolutely.
So, Sketch Battle I'm aiming for this to upset the whole hiring thing. And these poor unemployed designers, they might be amazing in certain areas, but suck at other areas, but they're still employable. And
And you look at any traditional style artist, some of them, there's a glassblower, Chihuly, right? He does these super abstract drawings, and then he has a team of artists and glassblowers execute it into a sculptural form, right? And so it opens up and frees up the CAD designers who often think, very in rigid terms and hard surfaces. Giving them something that is a little out of the ordinary form pushes them to push their craft themselves and makes them better modelers. So even having somebody outside of that envelope come into the discussion really improves that. And then putting these students in front of decision makers that come to these sketch battles to see and to recruit and to look at who's hungry, who has the talent and the drive to really create these new innovations. That is
yes,
fantastic. I really hope it does disrupt how this works. I think we'll all get better products as a result of it.
I hope it really, I agree. I cannot agree with you more. I mean, I really want to push this and I'm trying to make it, um, work. Here's a very interesting thing I have to point out. And I think this is it's a very Detroit centric thing. So my big overall picture, the big picture sketch battle is not these little battles that we have currently. I want an Olympics of design to come to Detroit. Back in that time we were talking about the Great Recession, no, 2010, 2012, that's when Detroit Month of Design started. That's when Design Course started. Part of the reason for that to start was to help rebrand Detroit as a design centric city because we knew our manufacturing was going away or had gone away. So we had to rebrand ourselves as something different. Design was one of Detroit's options. So, that's why CCS created that branch. One of the reasons, as far as I understand. So fair enough. And that's brilliant. So that was when I was doing my master's, and so I was also aware of this new movement about rebranding Detroit. Also, part of the sketch battle concept was a much, much bigger picture, a little unachievable, but I need massive help for this. And so what this is an Olympics of design. So sketching, if we correlate it to translating, comparing sports or an analogy, shall I say, analogies of sport and art. Kicking a football, using a ball is a major sport conduit, the ball. And so they have to be able to manipulate that ball with their feet and arms. So the same with art. The first stages of art is drawing, a pencil, a stick. To be able to, so a stick, a ball, a pencil, or it could be considered a ball. And then the action of being able to move your hands to create these illustrations is, the physical working with the conduit of the
Yeah.
pencil. So all right, those are the analogies. If we could translate the Olympics being, all of the sports, swimming, running, all these sports, those sports actually represent different industries if we compare it to industries. The industries in that require design. For example, there's footwear, there's architecture, there's transport, there's product, there's gaming, there's entertainment design. All of these different industries, they all require sketching. So
Mhm.
my idea is an Olympics, which consists of all these sports. What if we had an Olympics of design? So we had sketch battles for gaming, for fashion, for architecture, for product, for all of these, and they all came to Cobo Hall, now called Huntington. Excuse me, into Detroit. And my idea was, if we had all of these different industries which required the sketching come to the Huntington the convention center and and it would be kind of similar to an Olympics. Okay, so what would happen is Olympics always get the cream of the crop as far as the sports people. Sketch
Uh-huh.
Battle, the Olympics of design, would also create, all these countries would come in with their representatives and all the best schools from Pforzheim, Royal College of Art, all the best schools in the world would be pulling out their best designers, their best students to come to
Right.
Detroit for this Olympics of design. So there we go. There we have the world's best student designers concentrated in Detroit. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's but it gets better. So not oh my gosh. We have the cream of the crop of all the students around the world here in Detroit. That's gonna automatically attract the best companies, the Nikes, the Adidases, the Hyundais, all of the Sonys, all the best Fortune 500 companies in the world are going to come and nestle here in Detroit because we've already got the cream of the students. So it's going to cut out so much BS. And this is so it gets back to my point about the Detroit Month of Design, the design core and all that stuff. If we want to rebrand ourselves as a design center comparable to Paris, Milan, New York City, LA, if we want to be that level, we need this event because no other country does this. This would be like a South by Southwest. This would be like the Milan Furniture Fair. This would be like Art Basel in Miami. That would be Detroit's, and that would help elevate us as a world leader of design and innovation. What do you think?
I think the concept is amazing. As you were first explaining it, I was first imagining like I don't know if you ever seen like cooking competitions where they bring in designers and there's these really quick briefs and they create something,
Iron
right?
Chef.
Yeah, and, like, they got a 3-hour window in which to create all of this different stuff. The other part of my mind went to, here's Design Fest, and then we bring in, like, a science aspect of it, and we say, "Hey, we're designing this. The engineers have designed whatever, this piece, this mechanism in the middle to solve this problem, and the designers are gonna come and, correct it for all the humanness that needs to be in it, in terms of engagement and things like that," that hand-in-hand handshake, or at least starting off with, like, you know, large scale global problems. We're going to spend,
Yeah.
we're going to put 1,000 designers on figuring out, how do we get rid of single use plastics? What are the different vessels and what is the new vessel? Here's 3 hours and like pitch it out there
Yeah.
that way. Detroit is a UNESCO World Heritage Site for design. We started the automotive industry. Right? It really, really started here and went global. There
Yes.
is no reason why that same ethos, excitement, DNA, and intellectual prowess that once existed here in spades could reinvent itself and come out. So I really do support you creating these larger
I
ideas.
I would love that. Okay, this is what I was thinking about doing. Okay, we're about to have a mayoral election coming up soon. And so
Mhm,
all of these new wannabe mayors are going to be trying to get that. I would like to pitch this because to make this work in Detroit, I think I need some mayor level stuff
mhm.
to help push this. So I want to reach out to one of my favorite, or I don't really know how to approach this yet because it's still thought and process. But what if I approached one of these electoral candidates for the mayor and say, look, this is my pitch to bring Detroit into this world of design, like just make it a really, really high level place. Not that it isn't yet, but I mean, make it even higher and pitch it to the mayor because that is how I
Yeah,
might get traction for this.
absolutely. You're competing against every other city on the planet. You're competing against every other country in the
Yeah,
world, right? So having to go to a governmental level to reach that kind of impact, to at least get the wheels turning, because just the organization to get something that large moving is a huge endeavor within itself.
it
So
is.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a very smart way to go, and I also think if a candidate for mayor of Detroit was looking for a way to rebrand and expand the brand, not rebrand, expand the brand of Detroit,
Yes.
because Detroit's
Yes.
already an excellent brand,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah, this
It's
would
got
be
its roots.
yeah,
We've got
this
the
would be a
roots.
great
We've
way to
got the
take it to a
roots.
global stage. Yeah,
So this broadcast may help me get the word out because that's something because I'm pretty much working by myself on this. I do have a few helpers, but it's really and this is just too big and this is a little unobtainium for me. And I really need help to try to get this message out and to work with me or this idea.
So let me ask you this question. If somebody wanted to work with you, somebody
Yep.
listening to this podcast right
Yep.
now would want to work with Brooke
Yeah.
on bringing this idea out, how
Yeah.
should they reach out to you?
Well, I'm pretty easily Googleable. But, my email would be Brook, Brook, no E, at middlecott.com. That's my core thing. Or just give me a call, 415-845-1680.
Ooh,
Ding, ding,
brave.
ding. This sounds, yeah, there it goes. There it goes. My phone off the hook. It would be great if it was off the hook for like trying to help me, but not other weird stuff, like trying to
Yeah.
sell me some windows or something. Anthony, I don't know if we're, but that's really what I want to do, Anthony. And if you know anyone who could help instigate this thing, that would be a legacy thing, a huge legacy thing for Detroit. Well, for me, but also I just want this. I want Detroit to explode. Yeah,
I appreciate that you're passionate about your community, and I
yeah,
appreciate that you work so hard to do this because you think it would make the world a better place,
yeah,
and it'd make life for people starting off their life in design
yes,
better for them going on. I see that, I recognize that, and I fully support you, and whomever I can get in contact and help share your story with, I definitely will. So,
yeah. That would be so great, really.
yeah.
And then also the teams thing of getting these universities to compete as well. It's all encompassing. It's like I'm ripping off the football model, business model, whether it's professional, whether it's college level, or even high school level. They start recruiting at high school and junior high already. So
Absolutely.
I'm ripping off the football model for sketching and design. If we could just rip that model off, and if we had like a big, heavy, financially good person, and not a not a greedy person, not, a genuine person who cares about. So
Uh-huh.
I forgot what these type of investors are called, but that type of person would be a really Mark Cuban. I don't know if he's into the same stuff, but and with a good heart, not one of these bureaucratic assholes.
If you're trying to create something like this, we spend so much money watching people, as you said, throw balls around. It takes skill, it takes talent, it is a lifetime of dedication. The same type of dedication goes into any physical craft, any tangible thing that we are creating as humans. And whenever we start, and I think it would be wonderful as a culture to start recognizing that craft at all the different levels and give it its time to shine in terms of creating content that people want to see, creating content that resonates with everybody, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's when you're going to start getting these buy-ins from the public and their
Hmm. Hmm.
perception and how
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
types of things grow. I
Yeah.
really think what you're proposing is something that it would be culturally strong for an entire city, culturally strong for a state, like the state of Michigan should be
Yes.
all in support of this, and culturally strong for the entire country itself.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it goes back to the dream of, work hard, be good at something, be the best at it, and you can get somewhere, right? Removing those borders from people and that stops them from achieving their vision of what the future can be is really what you're going after. So
Yeah.
it is absolutely powerful. And then getting to like somebody who really wants to see this because they don't wanna sell T-shirts, but they want to see this type of product move forward is really important. The other thing is it does have to make business sense,
Yes.
right? It does have to make money not just through, like, sponsorships, but, like, how does it become a cultural phenomenon? Because that's kind of what you're trying to
It is.
create, a
It is.
local cultural phenomenon that becomes a turns all global eyes to this, and they do it in different industries, right? You
Yeah.
have the was it the Euro Music? Was it Europrize?
A Eurovision Song Contest?
Yeah, right? They do that for music.
Yeah.
They do food competitions for
Yes. Yeah.
food,
Yes.
right? They
Yeah.
do sports competitions for every physical thing that you can possibly
Mhm.
do, there's a competition for. So why not design? Why not art? There's no reason not to celebrate artists in the same way you celebrate an athlete.
Okay, so check this out. So NFL, it's a brand, okay? And
Mhm.
anything you put all of these teams that work under the NFL, you have to put the NFL logo on because they're part of the NFL. So each time that happens, each time a t-shirt is sold, the NFL gets a chunk of money, a little bit of money. So that's it. So if we can make an NFL for design, and I've thought about it, I've created these little acronym type things. I've tried to buy all the .coms for this I can think of. And so if we could create an NFL type of thing, all encompassing, and it's the overarching ruler of the rule, it creates the rules and how it's all structured, just like how the football is done. If we could create this NFL, that would be amazing. So what if we got an NFL master, somebody who helps put this thing together? The president, an ex-president of NFL, something like that, who knows how the structure works. Translate that into this art scene, the design scene, and there we could start to really build something with power.
You're spot on with thinking that way in terms of scaling this as an idea and as a business model. Because then
Yeah.
we're getting into the weeds of how does this thing look as a business model? Is it
Hmm.
self-sustaining? Can it
Hmm.
grow itself? Can it fund itself? How long till solvency? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
And those are real things that you have to figure out when you're creating any type of product. And Sketchbattle is just another product. It just happens to do some really cool things
Yeah.
once it starts going.
Yeah. Really.
So, question for the audience, and I
Yes.
have to. So, all of my talks, I always ask questions about AI because it's just happening, whether we like it or not. So, with AI tools becoming more prevalent in creative fields, how do you see them integrating into the automotive design process, and what role might they play in future sketch battle and events?
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we are integrating them. We have been integrating them ever since our introduction to Viscom. And so it's another tool. That's all it is another tool. Like Photoshop was a tool back in the day. AI is a new tool to help us visualize our products. And so I think it's undeniable. We have to embrace it. We are embracing it, particularly our college, CCS. We are embracing it and including it in our curriculums because, as I say, it's another tool. So it makes total sense to get it integrated into Sketchbattle, which we are. Viscom is artificial intelligence kind of software where you can throw in a sketch, and it really likes a simple line sketch, and throw that sketch into Viscom, and then it will render it for you. That's it in a nutshell. It'll make a beautiful rendering of it. And even kid drawings, really, kid drawings, you can plug that into Viscom, and Viscom will figure out what you're trying to say, especially when you put the prompts. I want this to be a furry cat stuffed animal, and it will render this for you. So it really opens up a lot of, if you have an idea and you're not a best drawer, you can load a sketch in there, and it will render up some visuals for you to present to a potential investor. But then somebody who's like more of an established designer who does have a clear idea, and he sketches or she sketches the thing out and puts it into Viscom. Well, Viscom will render it up in like 20 seconds. Whereas for us designers for Photoshop and markers and all that stuff, it'll take us 30 minutes to do that. So it saves us time for quick visualization. So that's what Viscom does. And that's why it's an absolutely perfect fit for Sketchbattle because we do an initial sketch. Sketchbattle consists of 2 or 3 rounds. Round 1 is always hand drawing. It's got to be hand drawing, no digital tools allowed, pen and paper only. So we can see that there's no other influences. So the person draws this thing. And then so next phase is development, just like the processes of design. Initial ideation, development, and final. So development, you take that little drawing, you take that drawing, I don't mean little, you take that drawing, put it into Photoshop and Photoshop it up or do it with markers, make it look a little more presentable. You can take it through that way, or you can put it into Viscom. Put it into Viscom and let Viscom do the rendering for you. So it's a natural progression of how the design industry is working. And and what I love is the duality of Sketchbattle from this thousands of year old cave drawing beginnings of hand drawing things. That's like as old as the human race nearly. And then yeah. And then
Do
all the
do
way
do
to
you
the
think
future.
it could do you think it could potentially undermine the authentic artistic expression in your competition like yours, like having like a full digital support? Or do you think like it enhances or it's an equalizer? Like, what do you see its role completely being like in competition mode?
Could be an equalizer. I had not thought of that. I feel like when you take a Viscom, when you load a drawing into Viscom and Viscom throws out this result, I
Mhm.
feel like as a designer you have to modify that piece because AI does not think really exactly how we think. It's not going to come out exactly how you want it. It's also going to open up other possibilities that you didn't think about. It's not really your design if you just take it straight from that artificial intelligence and you have to modify it a little bit. And so that is where we get the human humanness back into it, and you can modify that. So it is an equalizer. It kind of equalizes everyone at some point, but that person's going to have to modify it a little bit down the road. So what my point is from that thousands of year old art of being able to draw to a futuristic thing. AI is current, but it's also futuristic. So I love that whole breadth of we are embracing the old school and the future technologies in Sketch Battle.
That's wonderful, and I think that's what art has always done. An artist uses every single tool around them to create whatever they wanna create, whether it is just some old coffee they're using as a mid-tone in the back of their sketches, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Or it's some high-end piece of technology to render the most pixel perfect image
Yeah.
they can achieve.
Yes.
The digital, tangible, analog experience that we're gonna be living in the future is definitely gonna be influenced by it. I absolutely think AI not only is here to stay, it's here to change and shape, but keeping that authentic story is so important. And in design, I feel like storytelling is a key connection with the audience. Like, if they don't feel it's real, it's not real for them. So, like, how does Sketch Battle encourage participants to weave narratives into these sketches during the competition?
I don't understand the question actually.
So, all right, so like in Sketch Battle, right? People are making sketches, they're making
Yes.
design,
Yes.
right? And we want them to not only just create a product, but I want a product that I'm like excited about. And so part of that is the storytelling and the storytelling process.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you get them to like weave narratives
Mm.
into their designs? Like, because you're in a big
Yeah.
open space, you're surrounded by
Yes.
a bunch of people. You're
Yeah.
doing hand sketches, there's a lot of stuff going on, and now you're
Yes.
creating an authentic original piece. How do you make sure that still resonates? Like, how do you get
Okay.
them
Well,
there?
I don't know if artificial intelligence can do that yet. Okay,
Okay.
so artificial intelligence is going to pop out. You're going to throw a sketch in there, and it's going to pop out a rendering for you. That's great, but the story is so important, as you're just talking about the narrative of why it's shaped like it is and why it does what it does is super important. And that would what I could see is how the AI rendering can complement that story. So you're still going to have to illustrate that story
Okay.
some way
So
or
let me
another.
let me
Yeah.
ask a question. When you say that story, okay, that means that the artist has a vision of what that story is.
Yes.
You give them a brief. How does Sketchpaddle like support them in the creation of that story and maintaining that authentic voice, whether they're using AI or they're still doing it manually? Because like I feel like when I go into a meeting and someone pitches me an idea, half of it is the pitch and half of it is the sketch. If they're not excited about the sketches, I'm not excited about the pitch.
Well, firstly, okay, AI, I've not tried this, so I'm just speculating. You could say, look, this is a soccer shoe. I want it to be about the world leading soccer player. And then, so here's my shoe design. Help me tell that story. So AI might just be able to tell that story straight
Okay.
off. You know, I've never tried that. But I think, an important part of a really important part of the whole design process is being able to show that story. This is inspired by bird feathers and be able to draw that bird feather and show how the feather works and how it works with the product. So, that's a really interesting aspect you're just pointing out because I remember I did a shoe for Puma. I worked for Puma for a while and it was a sprint spike running shoe. And so I was
Yeah.
thinking if it had the same features as a feather, which are light and I don't even the structure for the surface of this. And so if I could explain that to AI, to Viscom perhaps, and say, give it all of that context, what would it pump out? I don't know. It'd probably be freaking amazing. But I'd still have to have my sketch in there to give it some direction, design direction. Maybe that's next level storytelling. I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, yeah, the next level companion storytelling, whether AI supports it or doesn't support it, and then, like, how we integrate those stories in, and then the other thing is, like, authentic voice, because it's trained like, these models are trained on everything that already exists. So if it's trained on everything that already exists, all it can do is do a mashup of things that already exist, right? To
Yeah.
get to that unique creative jump past that, I think that's where the designer is still gonna have a job in the future because someone needs to curate this experience, this tangible, emotional, visual experience that we go through on a daily basis as humans into things that we actually want to interact with that live in our world and live and we can actually feel because ultimately like AI doesn't have eyes. It has ideas as to what eyes are, but it doesn't have physical eyes. It doesn't have physical feelings or emotions and those types of things.
Well, it's just a matter of time. But here's a really interesting point that you're starting to bring up. So, us as designers, we're the ones that are creating the future. And so, if we are pumping our ideas into AI, maybe that is giving AI ideas for future stuff. So, because normally it's fed off historical things, what's been on the internet for the last while. But if us designers are throwing it lots of ideas, maybe it can start formulating its own futuristic ideas. And so maybe that's the next step of AI. I don't know. Maybe we're cutting ourselves out of a job using Viscom. Who knows?
I think well, there's absolutely gonna be a disruption. There's gonna be more people less people doing more because it makes us more efficient with our time and effective with our time. So the curation and the development of an eye that can understand taste, vibes, the whole story behind why we make the things that we make, that's really what the skill is gonna be.
Hmm.
The idea of an art director is something later on. I feel like the skills of an art director is gonna be needed at an entry level position because that is what you're doing when you work with an artificial intelligence, is you're having a conversation with the data set,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're trying to get something out of it. That's very much what you do as an art director, is you're working with people that don't have the level of refinement that you currently have, and how are you getting them to produce what your vision is. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, drawing from your own career, and this could be about AI or not. So, drawing from your own career, how has effective storytelling helped you pitch ideas to brands like Sony or Hasbro? And what tips would you share for designers to master these skills?
Firstly, that's one of my favorite parts of design is creating the story behind it. It's so fun to create stories, and stories can be as simple as just brushing your teeth and the process of doing that. But then all the cultural aspects that get thrown in. Oh, God, okay, okay. So sometimes a story is way more compelling than the design itself. Sometimes somebody might have a crappy drawing, but the story is so compelling that the boss will be like, well, your design's not great, but the story is great. It's worth a lot. So sometimes storytelling and story creation is more important than the design itself. Quite often, sometimes you'll just have a very beautiful object that looks nice. Okay, now about that, you might have a beautiful rendering, looks real hot. You might not have had a story behind it, but then once you've done that, and then you can backpedal and retroactively give it a story after. Oh, it kind of looks like a shark, or it kind of looks like something, and then say, well, okay, yeah, it was inspired by a shark. Nobody's going to know. So, I mean, this is like reverse engineering, and this happens a lot. This type of thing. Sometimes you'll do a concept straight in CAD, but you need a little bit of backing. And so, oh, it's really done on a sketch, a napkin sketch, tell that story. It helps make it compelling. And I know I'm giving away a lot of things here, which might not, it is reality. I'm talking reality here. This is sometimes it does work like this. So that story just helps sell the product. There's no doubt about
Absolutely.
it. And the more compelling that story is and original it is, the stronger it is. It's fundamental. Any future designers out there who want to be successful in design, the most successful designers, the ones that make it to the head of Google design or Apple or, these very high level designers, they have a very futuristic outlook on things. To be a very successful designer, I think you have to think either absolutely own the box, or thinking outside of the box, but owning the box. This is what I tell my students. They don't always follow my instructions because it's hard, but I say, don't design anything that's in existence. Design something that's not been produced yet. I mean,
Mhm.
we have enough desktop speakers. If you want to do something that creates sound and a sound system for your desktop, create something that hasn't been done before. Okay. That way, and then so another philosophy is design from mild to wild. Mild being something that could be produced today or in a year, or something that could be produced in 20 years. So these people who are heads of design of Google design, they have to have a 10, 20-year outlook. They have to have the 1,000-yard stare.
Right.
They
Yeah,
have
it's
to have that look. Because if they're going to be creating a brand that's going to be relevant in 10, 20 years, they have to be looking at the nuggets. So they're going to be looking the nuggets that we see just starting now, like like AI. No, not AI. Like magnetic levitation. That's something that, it's been going on for a while, but when it first started, you can start to see things where maybe we don't need stands. Stands is such a thing that's everywhere, holding up my iPad. But magnetic levitation can be a way to have this stand that moves around with you. So having this long term vision, maybe we don't have the technology to make it now, but down the road is what I think makes the most successful designers for big companies. And that's storytelling.
Absolutely, the storytelling. And for me, not only is it in my mind is it a vision of the future, it is an absolute eye and finger on the pulse of the present, right?
Yes,
Because like
that's
for me,
owning the bot.
one of the things I love to just read and watch on is just battery and battery tech. I am fascinated by energy, energy storage, how that works, because it affects a ton of products that we end up designing, right?
Yes.
It needs some type of locomotion or it needs something to provide energy. And the different ways that we're able to reformat energy just with like chemistry and battery chemistry, or how different chips and new chip styles have, lower voltage and circuit requirements, and we can do, better and better things with
Mhm.
less and less energy. The evolution of the LED, oh my gosh, the
Yes.
effect of
Yeah.
what that did for
Yeah.
energy consumption,
Yeah.
and then how that plays into like large global narratives and how it sets us, what could we do next? When is this technology ripe for us to expand it into different ideas and areas? How can I use the current technology to serve underserved areas or under designed for areas as
Right.
well?
Right.
You know,
That is such, and let's put what you're talking about into something that's extremely relatable. You talked about LEDs. When were they invented? 70s? I don't even know. But so say somebody had the vision of like, oh, LEDs. Oh my God, what if you could put a million of them all together and make a TV? And then so that's literally what happened. So that person or those people had that vision about this one little light bulb, super small.
yes.
And so that is the type of vision that I want our students to come up with. And that's the way we're going to move things ahead. And I love reading things about like MIT. They're always at the forefront of invention and stuff. They just discover certain little things and then embrace that. I want my students to read about that. And then, oh, this thing's just started. Imagine what could that be like in 20 years and think big. That's what I would want to see my students pumping out personally.
Right, exactly. And when a technology is proposed as an idea versus when that technology starts to scale for different industrialized processes, how it makes that technology something equitable that other people can just use as part of their
Yes.
designs and their
Yes.
ideas. When LEDs first came out, they were unobtainium, absolutely impossible to get a hold of. They didn't last as long. They burnt out. Now they're everywhere. They're ubiquitous. You can find them in almost everything, and they're well understood, you know? And so we can do so much more with them.
I mean, nanobots. I mean, put them into your blood, and then you can probably, maybe not quite yet, but remote control them straight to the infection area, and blast them with lasers. I mean, seriously, that sounds out of this world, but it's actually very much inside the world.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite topics right now is drones. Drones. And that gets to your point about energy capacitors and stuff.
Mhm.
How, but drones is just, I love it. It's so amazing. And then here, you never would have thought a stupid drone would be replacing fireworks. A million drones are symbolic of a million sparks of fire.
But little LEDs in the sky, and the way it
Yeah.
shapes and moves and
Yeah.
swarms, it completely recreates the whole visual landscape.
Yes.
The spherical arena in Las Vegas,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The whole outside of that it is just an LED screen. And you're
Yes.
like whatever. There's an entire studio now that is just set up to produce content for that surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it allows you to do things as a visual designer. And for those that don't know, I've designed different types of lights and stuff before. It gives you a whole different field in which you can think about light and how it moves and
Mhm.
surfaces and projects out. The types of tools are changing, but the process of understanding is the same. The
Mhm.
process of engagement is the same. So these inherent original design tools like the pencil that we talked about earlier, how that is the ball, that is still where these things begin. They begin with that human touch,
Mhm.
engaging with something physically in this world,
Mhm.
manifesting those ideas into, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, into 1,000 words, into a single glimpse. And that's how those stories begin. And that's how the future continues to evolve. I think is absolutely fascinating. Brooke, I want you one more time. If people want to get a hold of you and work with you on Sketchbattle,
Yes, yeah.
please shout it out one more time, your email address.
Okay, regarding Sketchbattle, it's brook@sketchbattles.com.
Okay.
Sketchbattles, one word, sketchbattles.com. So, but the core business is Middlecott, and so middlecott.com, Brook at Middlecott. But it's easy to remember Sketchbattles specifically.
Thank you to Brook Banham for coming on Design Impact today, expanding our minds to what the idea of athletes are and making the athlete and the artist one and the same. Sketch battles is definitely the future. Brook, thank you again for coming, and this has been Design Impact.
Thank you so much, Anthony. It was absolutely my pleasure.
It was wonderful having you.
See you. See you soon.